What if the son at the center of one of reality television's most public falls from grace turned around and accused his own parents of making things worse? That's exactly what has surfaced in newly reported text messages from Josh Duggar. The former 19 Kids and Counting star, currently serving a lengthy federal prison sentence, has called out Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar for what he describes as blaming him and putting public image above family. These messages, obtained by People magazine and reported in early May 2026, offer a raw look at ongoing tension inside a family that once presented itself as the picture of closeness. Stay with me, because the details reveal not just frustration from behind bars, but questions about accountability, support, and how a high-profile family navigates scandal after scandal. The Duggar family first captured national attention through their TLC series 19 Kids and Counting, which followed Jim Bob and Michelle as they raised their large brood in Arkansas under strict conservative Christian values. The show highlighted their daily life, faith, and growing family, turning them into household names. But the image began to crack in 2015 when reports emerged about Josh's teenage behavior. As a young teen, he had been investigated for inappropriate touching involving underage girls, including some of his sisters. The family addressed it privately at the time, and the statute of limitations had passed by the time police looked into it more formally. When the information became public, TLC cancelled the original series. A spin-off, Counting On, continued for a while before ending amid further controversy. Josh's legal troubles escalated dramatically in 2021. Federal authorities arrested him on charges of receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. A jury convicted him in December of that year. In May 2022, he received a sentence of 151 months in federal prison, more than 12 years, plus supervised release afterward. He has maintained his innocence throughout, arguing at trial and in later statements that someone else downloaded the material onto a computer at the used car dealership where he worked. Courts have rejected those claims based on forensic evidence. Appeals have followed, with recent efforts denied, and his projected release date now sits in early 2033. Against that backdrop, the newly public texts from prison show Josh directing sharp words at his parents about how they handled the fallout. In messages sent to his mother Michelle shortly after the 2022 sentencing, Josh expressed deep disappointment. He wrote that he felt she and Jim Bob did not receive criticism or take admission for their own actions that he said had directly affected his life, including in this situation. He stated clearly that he was not blaming them for the situation itself, but insisted they were blaming him, and that they did not even know the truth, something he claimed Michelle had acknowledged. Josh continued, saying he believed they did not understand how they had hurt him by trying to make themselves look good instead of showing concern about their responses to his charges. He specifically criticized public statements and PR efforts aimed at saving shows and public images, saying those had been placed above family relationships and still were. At one point he told Michelle she seemed to worry about PR more than anything else sometimes. He asked her to consider her role and change so that other children would not end up in similar situations later. In another message he questioned whether any unfair treatment stemmed from her own guilt. Josh also repeatedly stressed his claim of innocence in the texts, pointing again to a co-worker as the one responsible for the illegal material. He argued that whether his parents believed him or not should not change how they treated him. Earlier messages around the same period showed him describing the difficulty of being in prison while the rest of the family continued with their lives, going out and doing things. According to the reporting, Michelle's replies did not directly address the accusations. Instead, she offered words of love and shared messages of support from others. No public response from Jim Bob or Michelle has been issued specifically about these particular texts as of the latest reports. These exchanges matter because they pull back the curtain on private family dynamics that have long been the subject of public speculation. The Duggars built their brand on unity and faith under pressure. When major scandals hit, the responses often came through carefully worded statements focused on prayer, support for Anna and the children, and trust in God. Josh's texts suggest he experienced that approach differently from the inside. At the same time, it is important to note that Josh was convicted by a jury after a full trial, and multiple courts have upheld that result. His claims of innocence and alternative explanations have not succeeded in the legal system. The texts represent one side of a private conversation that has now become public through media reporting. Reactions to the news of these messages have been varied across media coverage and online discussion. Some observers see the texts as evidence of deeper family fractures that were never fully resolved after the earlier scandals and the cancellation of the shows. Others view them as Josh continuing to deflect responsibility rather than accepting the consequences of the conviction. Media outlets have largely reported the content factually, quoting the messages and noting Michelle's supportive but non-confrontational replies. Social media conversations have included a range of perspectives, some expressing sympathy for the pain of family division, others emphasizing the seriousness of the original crimes and the importance of accountability. Coverage has generally avoided sensational exaggeration, sticking to the reported words and the established timeline of events. Public opinion remains divided, as it has been for years around this family, with some focusing on the human cost of prolonged legal and personal struggles and others prioritizing the impact on victims and the need for justice. Looking ahead, Josh continues to pursue legal avenues related to his conviction, though recent attempts to vacate the judgment have been denied by the court. His release remains years away under the current sentence. The family itself has largely stepped back from the public spotlight that once defined them, with individual members focusing on private lives. No new joint statements or major announcements about these specific texts have emerged. Viewers interested in the broader story will likely watch for any further court developments or additional reporting on family communications, but for now the verified information centers on the messages already made public and the ongoing reality of Josh's incarceration. The biggest takeaways from this update are clear. Text messages obtained by people show Josh Duggar expressing frustration with Michelle and Jim Bob, accusing them of blaming him and prioritizing public image during a crisis that reshaped the entire family's public standing. He maintains his innocence while urging his mother to examine her own role. Michelle's responses, as reported, focused on love and support without engaging the criticisms directly. This comes against the long history of the Duggars' rise through reality television, the earlier revelations about Josh's teenage actions, and his 2021 conviction that ended the remaining show. The story highlights ongoing private tension within a family that once shared so much of its life on camera. What are your thoughts on this latest Duggar family update? Share your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Duggar family update.